You know those AI tools we're all starting to use every single day? Ever stop and wonder if they're actually as objective as they seem? Well, we're about to pull back the curtain on large language models and really dig into the hidden biases lurking inside their code. And what we find? Yeah, it might just change how you see AI forever.
Seriously, think about it. The AI that helps you write emails, brainstorm ideas, or just look up information, is it giving you a completely neutral perspective? The latest research is showing that the answer is way more complicated and honestly a lot more concerning than you'd probably guess.
Okay, so to make sure we're all on the same page, bias in AI isn't just one simple thing. It kind of comes in three main flavors. First, you've got statistical bias. That's when the data the AI learns from is skewed from the get-go. Then there's cognitive bias, which is wild. It's where the AI literally learns to use our own flawed human shortcuts in its thinking. And maybe the trickiest one is socio-historical bias. This is where the AI doesn't just learn from our history, it actually starts to perpetuate the same old inequalities. So that's the theory. But how does this abstract problem actually pop up in our day-to-day lives? Let's get right into a real, concrete example. A recent study put one of the newest and most powerful models, GPT-4o, to the test. All they did was ask it to write some job descriptions. Simple enough, right? Well, the results were, let's just say they were pretty eye-opening. So get this, the study found that the job descriptions written by the AI had 37% more stereotypical language than the ones written by actual human recruiters. It wasn't just mirroring our biases, it was turning up the volume on them. And if you dig a little deeper, it gets even worse. When it came to technical jobs, a staggering 82% of the AI's descriptions showed clear gender bias. We're talking about the exact kind of language that studies have shown discourages women from even applying. And it's not just gender. For jobs that are customer-facing, 45% of the AI's writing included subtle racial coding. What this really means is that the AI is building inequality right into the hiring process before a single human being even sees the job ad. So how on earth does this happen? Well, it's not just one mistake, it's a whole process. It all starts with the AI's diet. It learns by reading the internet, which is basically a giant library of all our collective knowledge, but also all our prejudices. Then that data gets filtered, and the choices made right there can create huge imbalances. From there, the model's own internal structure can actually amplify those biased patterns. And finally, the training itself might accidentally reward the AI for using stereotypes, just because those shortcuts help it get the right answer faster. Okay, so if bias is baked in that deep, how do researchers even begin to find it? Let's take a look inside the toolbox of a modern AI bias detective. These detectives really have three main methods. First, they can peek inside the model's brain with something called embedding analysis. They're looking at its internal map of ideas to see if words like doctor are closer to man than woman. They also test its assumptions with probability assessment, asking it how likely it thinks a statement is for different groups of people. And finally, they just analyze the evidence, which is exactly what we just saw with those biased job descriptions. And to do this right, they don't just ask a few random questions. No, they use these incredibly detailed data sets like StereoSet. We are talking about 17,000 carefully designed examples made specifically to poke and prod the AI for stereotypes about race, gender, profession, you name it. It's a serious stress test. Now here's a really cool modern twist, using AI to catch other AI. Researchers have actually trained a specialized language model, a BERT-based classifier, to basically be a bias watchdog. Its entire job is to learn what bias looks like in text and then sniff it out in the output from other AIs. And the results? They're incredible. This AI watchdog is 94% accurate at spotting bias. That's huge. It proves we can build really effective automated systems to keep an eye on other AIs in real time. But just when you think we have a handle on it, there's a major curveball. A huge study from Stanford Law School found that an AI's bias isn't some fixed personality trait. Nope. It's more like a chameleon. It changes, and sometimes dramatically, depending on how you're using it. Just look at this. This is the exact same model tested in 3 different situations. When it's used for financial services, it shows pretty low gender bias but high age bias. But use that same model for hiring, the gender bias score shoots through the roof. This is absolutely the key takeaway. A one-size-fits-all fix for AI bias just isn't going to work. So if the problem is this complicated and it changes all the time, what in the world can we do about it?
Well, the good news is there's a whole toolbox of solutions being developed, and some of these techniques are just fascinating, from simple things like cleaning data to something that honestly looks a lot like AI neurosurgery. The basic strategy is to jump in at every stage of an AI's life. You can attack the problem right at the source by cleaning the training data, or you can actually change the training process itself. After the model's already built, you can fine-tune it, perform that neurosurgery we talked about by pruning out biased parts, or just put a filter on the end to catch biased output before anyone ever sees it. It's a true multi-layered defense. Let's zoom in on that neurosurgery idea, because it's pretty wild. Groundbreaking research found that bias isn't just spread evenly throughout an AI's neural network, it's actually concentrated in very specific parts. So pruning is literally like a surgeon going in and removing those specific bias neurons. And this procedure is incredibly meticulous. First, they have to find the bias, pinpoint the exact neurons that are encoding stereotypes. Then they do an impact assessment, kind of like a doctor asking, is this part essential for other functions before they remove it? Only then do they do the selective pruning and deactivate the problem neurons. And the final crucial step is a ton of testing to make sure the patient, the AI, is less biased but hasn't lost any of its core intelligence. But here's another brilliant idea. It's called bias-augmented consistency training. Think of it like giving the AI a vaccine. Instead of just removing the bias, this actually teaches the AI to resist it. You train it with both a biased question and a neutral version of the same question, and it only gets rewarded when it gives a consistent, fair answer to both. It learns to see past biased freezing and just focus on the facts. But even with all these incredible tools, we are definitely not at the finish line yet. There are still some major hurdles to clear on the path to creating truly fair AI. One of the biggest challenges is simply bridging the gap between the research lab and the real world. In a lab, you have perfect conditions, perfect data sets, tons of resources. But out in the real world of industry, you have tight budgets, old systems, and real business pressures. A solution that works perfectly in the lab might be totally impractical to implement in a real product. And all of this brings us to the ultimate question, doesn't it? Accountability. As those Stanford researchers pointed out, dealing with this kind of context-specific bias means we need a nuanced understanding of shared accountability. So whose fault is it? The developer who built the general tool, or the company that used it for a specific biased purpose? The answer has to be, it's both. It's a shared responsibility. Which really leaves us with this final thought to chew on. If these incredibly powerful AI systems are just learning from the giant library of human language that we've created, who is ultimately responsible for teaching them to be fair? The creators? The users? Or maybe all of us? It's a huge question, and it's one we're all going to have to answer together.